Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? Happy 2024. And welcome to our podcast YouTube channel. Um, yes. Today we're going to discuss a few things, a few aspects. Should I name? Okay. The first one is we're going to discuss three main topics about Germany. The first one is why is Germany becoming an attractive country for um, academic development or study intentions. And the second one is why do I find myself in the academic category of German's academic development regarding, for example, teaching language courses in Germany. And the third one, which is pretty much interesting, we I released a couple of videos on this YouTube channel about racism in Germany, and I think that's going to be very interesting for me. So those are the three topics that we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to repeat that again. First one is why Germany is becoming an attractive country for study and work purposes. Second one is why I am teaching German and English in Germany or German English language development purposes. And the last but not the least is racism in Germany. Good. So let's get started. This is just pretty much based on my own personal experiences because you wrote these questions that I'm supposed to elaborate on. And I think number one, why Germany is becoming an attractive country for study and work related purposes. I think it's because this country has never really slept as far as development is concerned. Germany puts a lot of efforts. They invest a lot into educational aspects. And I think that's the reason why. Right now, if you look around certain areas of career development, let's say, for example, information technology, IT, um, Germany has one of the best IT master schools where you can learn how to do or how to work with information technology. This is like coding, networking, software development, programming. These are the most currently cherished academic developments that we are making so far on this planet. And the question is, how do I, as an individual who's seeking developments in academic purposes, trying to achieve or attain some of these goals? And Germany is a country where you only need to just press a few buttons and you would get going. As an individual, for example, if you are qualified enough to start an IT career, but you do not have the resources and the money to finance your study regarding IT developments or IT aspects, all you need to do is just register yourself with the Arbeitsagentur, which is the labor office or job center, and they will quickly look into your situation, whether you're individually able to finance and afford those developmental courses. And if you cannot do that, they will not hesitate and directly pay to the institution where you want to um, achieve those academic qualifications without any complicated bureaucratic procedures. They would do that. That is an amazing development for Germany. This is the country where educational advancement is on the forefront. And I like that. I personally have benefited a lot from that. So that is why Germany has become such an attractive country for career development. In the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of international students, um, different people from different ethnic backgrounds coming to Germany with high qualifications to even demonstrate their early career experiences in this country, and really benefiting a lot from what they have been doing. And I think that's really a positive thing about Germany. I like that very much. I think there are many other countries that are pretty much, doing the same thing, but Germany has been pretty much on the forefront, should I say. It's just, it's been an amazing experience. I personally, belonging to an academic sort of industry, to see how these advancements have been progressing in Germany, that's pretty impressive. So, no doubt about it. Yeah. Second question is, how did I get myself into teaching German and English? And how is the German language, um, how the German language is progressing, or how it works for foreigners coming to Germany? I was pretty privileged. I moved to Germany from Denmark, where I was studying previously as a very young individual. I stayed with a German family in Denmark, even though I was in a sort of a boarding school in Denmark. It's called Den Reisende School. These are the traveling folk high schools in Denmark. And I was there doing my studies, and I was affiliated to a very good German family where I started to really get to have a feel for the German language. Um, and I started to speak German, write German, and from there on, I started to kind of constantly develop my language skills. And when I decided to do my master program, um, obviously I did not have enough money to, pay for tuition fees, and you would have had to acquire some sort of a scholarship, which was very difficult to get by the time. So I decided to try that in Germany, because Germany is the only country, and I think until now, it's the only country in the whole entire world where anyone can acquire higher education from a university, without having had to pay for a lot of money. If you consider studying in the US, um, it is exorbitantly expensive and beyond imagination for many families to afford sending a family member to study in the US. And in Germany, um, you cannot believe it. And there are some universities in Germany where you actually get paid to study in that town, because the town gives you what they call Begrüßungsgeld, which is like a welcome financial package to help you get started, to settle down in that very particular town, to be a part of the community and study there. And this is just an amazing progress that Germany has been doing over a long period of time, and a lot of people don't even know about it. So I started my German language courses in Denmark. By the time I decided to move to Denmark, I had already acquired sufficient amount of German knowledge, which was very easy for me. So when I came here, it was just so easy to interact, and people were actually asking me, "Oh, wow, you speak German without an accent?" I was like, "I don't know, but I just speak it." Well, it's basically because I lived with a German family, and I would recommend anyone coming to Germany, um, especially on a long-term basis, to interact with a German family and speak German, and yeah, try to improve your German language skills as quickly as possible, because it helps a lot. So it's not very difficult. And I've been very interested in language courses, adult language training programs where you get to interact with people from different countries, different ethnicities, and learning German. That was pretty interesting for me. So I developed a passion for language courses way before, and I was privileged to, have worked for the United States Army and get a lot of money, and decided to establish the Sprachakademie and the Bermuda Language School, where I, yeah, started to teach actively and got a license to teach. So it's been a pretty good journey for us, I have to say. Yeah. And I think when you decide to migrate or move to a foreign country, very different from your environment, you move out of your comfort zone. I think what I recommend is the first thing you need to do is really try as much as it takes to learn and try to master the language of the country you intend to migrate to. It helps a lot. And I have seen that myself, like speaking German has gotten me to a certain level where I never thought I would be, just walking into a government department for, let's say, for example, the most interesting thing I did was like street food festivals. Like I walked into a government that was responsible for like street food festivals, and this requires hygiene, a lot of different aspects. And you sit there negotiating for a legal license to conduct street food festivals, and you speak very good German. That opens a lot of doors. And I can imagine that it is just really nice if you have somebody. Maybe we live in Germany where maybe a person of a different color is not expected to speak high quality German, but then you have somebody knocking on your door and explaining that they have the ability and the capability to do a street food festival in German. I mean, that's impressive. And I think that was one of the most important elements that I thought I should really encourage other people to do. It doesn't matter where you come from. You can be coming from the Arab world, the Asian world, or whatever kind of world you would be coming from. But if you are in a country like Germany and you're making efforts to speak the language, properly and adequately, that opens a lot of doors. And I think it's really a nice thing to do. And I've been doing these things. And I love speaking German. I love it so much. And German language is not so difficult, especially if you learn it from the basic, like from just the grassroots level. It's a beautiful language. A lot of people have complained that it's an extremely difficult language. Yes, it is. But if you have good teachers, good mentors, that would actually, help you to understand the connotation of what this language is actually based on, it's really, really beautiful. It's just so nice. You take your time, be patient. As a language school trainer or teacher, I've always sort of set that limit period of time to say from A1 to C1 learning German, you only need 9 months. And after 9 months, you'd be able to understand what nominative, accusative, dative, genitive, the verbs that are dative, the verbs that are accusative, and the verbs that are genitive. You would be able to learn that just like that. And once you have recapped that, it's all yours. It's just a beautiful language, but it is complicated. You need to unlock the language. There's no doubt about it. Don't give up, but it's fun. Just find someone who's motivating or a teacher that is really encouraging and very motivating to teach you how to get by speaking German. And once you get it, it's just beautiful. And it opens a lot of doors to career opportunities because I can tell you a story. There was this buddy of mine, a very good friend of mine from Senegal. When I moved to Germany, started my first year semester in Bochum at the university. So I met this really nice Senegalese guy, and he was already married to a German by the time, and she was pretty cool because I saw these like this couple in a chilly morning every morning coming in, and they had like a little baby, and they would walk into our classroom, and she would give him a kiss to wish him a good day, and they would walk away. And I started talking to him, and he was like, I'm struggling with the German language course, but after every lecture or after every like end of the day, he had to go to a department of the university. It's called ASTA, where he had to, you know, take up German language courses. And after a short period of time, he spoke perfect German, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things you can always experience. And yeah, it was really nice. So learning a language of a country you intend to migrate to is really of cardinal importance. Yeah. And we're moving on to, is Germany racist country, or is there racism in Germany? Hmm, that's that's hard. You know, that's a pretty tough question to answer for me. And I'm gonna be giving you factual evidence just based on my individual experience. I've had a couple of friends um, from Africa, African Americans living in Germany, and I have reviewed a lot of YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok videos regarding racism in Germany, and I've come up with a lot of different conclusions. But I'm gonna start with my own personal experience. I have been living in Germany for the past almost 27 years now, and I would be lying if I'd say I have faced racism in Germany. I think this part of the first of all, let's look at, geographically, let's look at the place where I am right now. So we are in North Rhine-Westphalia, which is in English the North Rhine-Westphalia. This is one of the most industrious or former industrious region of Germany, where a lot of Turkish people came into, Italians came into, I don't know whoever came into North Rhine-Westphalia to work here, mostly in the coal mines. So the NRW area has been very multicultural. I first of all, when I moved from Denmark, I moved to Germany. I went to Flensburg, and I was with a German Danish girlfriend. So I didn't really kind of get to experience that kind of loneliness in trying to interact myself with the Germans, or getting acquainted to the language. So that was very different. I was already able to sort of speak German on a very good level. So if I walked into a supermarket or anywhere on a party, I didn't have any kind of difficulties to interact. And I think that was one of the most positive things that I had experienced by the time. But I've heard people saying Germany is, to a certain extent, a racist country. And I really try to go a little bit deeper when somebody, put up those claims. I try to ask, why would you say that? And where exactly are you basing your arguments to say Germany is a racist country? And to, Um, mostly it's mostly from what I have experienced. It's like people coming to this country with their own expectations. This country has its own moral, ethic, aspects that you need to respect once you're here. And I personally would say I've been driving around, I've been walking around, I've never been racially discriminated or just been racially insulted. I have seen a lot of United States of America aspects as far as racism is concerned. There's a lot of racism in the U.S., even from like the responsible authorities, like um, the police officers in the United States. They commit a lot of what I would call atrocities on African Americans, whereby I have been driving in Germany for the past 22 years, and I have never been stopped by a police officer where I felt like I was really being racially discriminated. Out of the 25 years I've been driving in Germany, I can even confirm that I got stopped twice. Twice I got stopped. Where I think the first one was like I was coming from my school driving towards Van Eyck. That's where I live. And all of a sudden, just some sort of a car pulled over in front of me, and they were like, um, there was this sign of like a flashing sign behind the back, police, please follow. And I slowed down and I pulled over on the side, and two police officers got out, and it was actually a male and a female police officer in like just civil clothes. They were not in police uniform. So they came to me. They came to the driver the driver's seat window, and I rolled down the window. And the police officer was the one in charge. He just said, um, "We pulled you over because you drove over a red traffic light." And I was so surprised. I was like, "I don't think I drove over a red traffic light." And you said, "You did. And we don't have to discuss about that anymore. But you drove over a red traffic light." So I got so surprised. And I was like, "Okay, so what do you need to do?" And he just told me, "I need to see your driver's license, car registration, and your ID." And in Germany, when a police officer requests for these documents, it's not a negotiation. You have to give him. In the United States, people would start talking about, you're violating my Fourth Amendment and whatever. But in Germany, when a police officer requests for these documents, you have to provide the documents. So, and you don't have to tell him, I have to reach out on my compartments of the passenger seat compartment because that's where I keep my documents. No, you just get them because a German police officer does not really think that you have weapons in your car. He's just standing there looking at you. And of course, he's very cautious. So I reach out into my bag, which is pretty much next to my passenger seat, and I grab my wallet. And in my wallet, there is the registration, there is my ID, and what is my wallet? My ID, my driver's license. And I give it to him, and I open the compartment, and I get the car registration documents, and I give it to him. And so the lady was standing there while he got back into his car to radio, you know, their central whatever communication system. And she looked at me and she said, um, "Have you been drinking?" And so I said, "No, not at all." And she was like, "Okay, would you mind taking an alcohol test?" And I said, "No, it's okay. I can take one." So she was standing there. When the police officer came back with my documents, and I heard him talking to her, and he said, ist sauber, which means he's clean. And then she took the documents and she walked over to my window, gave it to me, and she said, "Where are you coming from?" And I said, "I'm coming from my school." I told her that I was just establishing a language school. That was way back in 2007, and was working late and stuff like that. And she said, I have to tell you. She looked at my documents. She said, Mr. Andrew, we were just behind you and we saw you drive over a red traffic light. This was the reason why we followed you, stopped you, because we thought either you have a problem or you are completely drunk. But I figure out that maybe you might be too tired because it's actually over midnight. It's all good. She gave me the documents and she said, she just said, please drive carefully, take into consideration that there are also many other motorists on the streets. That was after 02, So that was one of my worst experiences, like my first. And the second one was I was actually with my kids. It's not a long time ago. It was just shortly before the corona. I think it was actually the beginning of the corona situation, whatever. And we were having a good time in the school. We got out and we were driving home. I was with my two daughters, and all of a sudden there was just this roadblock, which you don't get to see too often in Germany. And there were thousands of police officers just on both sides of the road, and about four standing in front of the street. And we got pulled over, and it was also a police officer. She approached on the side of the road, and she was like, on my window, she was like, oh, you know what she said? It's pretty funny because she said, don't take this personal. It is a general control. We're just controlling because it's necessary. And she said, can I have your ID, car registration? And I gave it to her, and she passed them over to another gentleman, a police officer standing next to her, who quickly walked into, like, they had actually built up like a little tent, and he just ran into there. It didn't even take like 2 minutes. He came out, gave her the document. She came to me and she said, oh, there you go. Please, like I said again, we're just doing a regular standard checkpoint situation, and please drive safe. On that note, I would say that the German police officers, in comparison to what American police officers, treat black people, Germany is an amazing country. We have a police department, or we have the police force that really is there to serve the community and not to violate any of their human rights. This is Germany, what I like the most. The public at large, regarding racism, it is pretty tough in Germany. I would say if anyone is like a right-wing person, it's pretty hard. I have to say that, So it's not easy if you belong to a right-wing party. It's hard to get an apartment. It's hard to find friends. You always have to go through an extreme explanation to interact with any other person you want to, unless they do share the same ideologic, fact. But if you're, if you're like, yeah, anti, Maori culture, it's kind of really, really tough. So it's kind of really hard to say that you would, in Germany, that you would directly encounter people that don't like you because of the color of your skin. It's very rare. There were certain situations where I was asked if I was racially discriminated, but unfortunately, these incidences occurred when I was like completely done with the situation. I had to rethink about it. Just to tell you another short story, I was working for a language school, They were trying to teach me how to be a good language school teacher, German and English. And I had a really good mentor. And so I decided to completely move from Denmark to Germany. And I found a really nice apartment. And a lot of people that come to Germany, they say they get discriminated on the phone the moment they try to make inquiries about the apartment they intend to occupy. I had a girl from Morocco, and she was desperately looking for an apartment, and that was quite hard. She was desperately looking for an apartment. She phoned the landlord of the apartment. There was a direct number which actually said Femita, which is landlord. And she phoned him. And because she spoke German with an Arabic accent, um, the landlord responded friendly that the apartment was actually taken. It was not available anymore. And Fatma, the girl from Morocco, she didn't believe the story because it didn't sound so sure. And so she knew that I spoke good German without an accent, and she told me, "Hey, Andrew, I want to give I want to give it a try. Just call him and try to make inquiries about the apartment, you know." And so we put the mobile phone on speaker, like phone um, modus, and she dialed the number, and he picked up the phone, and I said, "Guten Tag, Handel Gordon hier. Ähm, Sie haben eine Wohnung in der Zeitung veröffentlicht und da, da, da." And I was like, "Ist die Wohnung noch zu haben? You know, is the apartment still available?" And he was like, "Oh, yes. Um, you can still have the apartment." And I asked him, I says, "So I'll be finishing work at about maybe 5. I could be there about 5:15." And he said, "No problem." And I asked him, "What do I need to bring?" And he told me, "Well, nothing. Just come around and check the apartment." But that was not the case with Fatma, because when Fatma was on the phone with him trying to make inquiries about the apartment, and she completely denied without even asking for any credentials if she was like employed, able to afford the apartment. She was just completely denied. And from that conclusion, Fatma developed a certain negativity towards Germans, saying um, she's been discriminated on a couple of occasions. But myself as well, there was a time I felt that I was being racially discriminated. Um, I used to drive. I used to belong to what they call a test drive team, so we could get cars from Friday 12 until Monday 12 just to test these vehicles. And there were those upcoming modernized vehicles from big companies, from big automobile manufacturers like Audi or Mercedes Benz, um, VW, and I had a program with VW for about half a year. So they gave me on weekends. I had a privileged card where I would walk to any of the automobile leasing companies and just pick up a vehicle of my own choice. So I did fall in love with VW Sirocco. In German, we saw Scirocco. So I fell in love with the car, and it was a new model. And so I got it on a Friday. Of course, tank, like fully fueled to the top. And I was, driving and cruising the cities. So a friend of mine called me up to say we could meet up at a restaurant. And I drove to the restaurant and I parked. As I was pulling up on the parking lot, there was a really nice looking gentleman. He actually looked so nice that I thought he looked like John McEnroe. He was completely in white with his wife, I think, with him. And when I was pulling over, he let go of his wife's hand and he started to stare at my vehicle. And I thought, okay, this is pretty good. So I parked the car and I got out and I was walking towards the entrance of the restaurant, which was actually where he was standing. He looked at me and he was like, there's no way you can park a vehicle like that. And I was like, did I make a mistake? So I looked, I was like, have I made any mistakes? I asked him, have I made any mistakes while parking the car? And he told me, we're not in Africa. We're not in the jungle. He said that. He told me right in my face. And I was like, okay, what do you mean, And he was about to walk over to his wife when I felt like I needed to talk to him. So I approached him and I was like, what do you mean? And